everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be teaching on how to make your commercial chocolate cake. So I'll be giving a recipe for this. Let me list out what I'll be using. I'll be using my butter, my sugar, my egg, flour, cocoa powder. I'll be using my coffee. I'll be using my milk flavor, baking powder, baking soda, my vegetable oil. I'll be using my potassium sorbate, which is your preservative, and I'll be using my vanilla flavor. And the last one that I'll be using is water. Yeah, I'll be using water because I said it's commercial recipe that I'm going to give out this morning. In this my butter and sugar that is already mixed together, in this bowl I have 250 grams of butter and my sugar is 240. That's what I have. My sugar is 240. I reduce it by 10 grams, and I'll be using 5 eggs of eggs in, and my flour. My flour is 340 grams. That is my flour. I'll be using my baking powder, which is 1.5 tablespoon. 1.5 tablespoon. That's what I am using. But if you are using it on a scale, you are going to use it as 10 grams. That is if you are using 10 grams. If you are using spoon, 1.5 tablespoon. I'll be using my milk flavor. My milk flavor, I'm just using 1 teaspoon for my milk flavor. And this is my cocoa powder. My cocoa powder is 30 grams of cocoa powder. If I scale it, you are going to see that it is 30 grams that I have in here. 30 grams. I'll be using my milk flavor. This is my vanilla flavor. My vanilla flavor, which I will be using, is 1 tablespoon. That's what I will be using inside there. I'll be using my coffee. My coffee is just half teaspoon. That's what I will be using here. And now that is your preservative. But if you are using spoon, it is just like that, your small spoon, 3/4 spoon. This is my baking soda. I'll be using 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and I have water in here. The water that I will be using is 120 ml of water. If you are watching, you have watched to this extent, definitely you are enjoying my tutorial. Please don't forget to like, share and comment on the comment section. Now proceed with me. I'm going to put all the recipe, I'm going to list it beside the screen. So now let's proceed. You know, I've already said that this is my butter and sugar, which I've mixed. Now I'm going to break my egg one after the other. Don't forget that you have to break your egg one after the other because of the bad ones. So I am breaking them one after the other. I'm going to add it inside here. Then I mix. So off the camera, I'm going to add 5 eggs inside this butter and the sugar. Added 3 eggs inside this my butter. This will make my eggs are fresh though, so I am not scared of the egg. This is number 4. I'm going to mix. And this is the 5th one that I'm breaking now. I'll break the 5th egg, so I'm mixing in now. So now I'm going to set aside to sieve my flour. I want to sieve my flour. You know, I have dry ingredients and I have wet ingredients. My dry ingredients and my wet ingredients, I want to separate them. I want to sieve them in one place, and I want to add my wet ingredients in one place. I want to measure my dry ingredients in one place. This is my pan, the pan that I want to use. This pan is carrying one, you can move back. This pan is carrying 160, but I'm going to set it on a 0. So you can see now I'm going to set it on a 0. So now this is my flour. This is 342. Actually I need 340. But the two that is there can't spoil it. So I need 340, but the two that is there can't spoil the recipe. So after this, I am adding my baking powder, which I have said is 1.5 tablespoons, and in gram it will be 10 grams. This is my already measured baking powder. I've added it. So now I'm adding my baking soda, which I said my baking soda I am using 3/4 teaspoon. Since I don't have 3/4 teaspoon, I am using, it will be accumulated to half tablespoon. And 1/4 of it. My meat flavor. I'll be using just 1 tablespoon of meat flavor in here. Sorry, I'll be using half of it, half tablespoon, because it's chocolate cake. So, and you know, it's commercial recipe so that it can last. I will be adding my cocoa powder. You know, I've already measured this cocoa powder is 30 grams. I can still measure it to confirm it. This is 30 grams. This cocoa powder is 30 grams. It's just plus 2, but it can still, it won't disturb my recipe. This is 30 grams. So I'm adding it inside my dry ingredients. These are all the dry ingredients that I will be needing for this before I will sieve everything. So these are all the dry ingredients that I will be needing now. So now I will be mixing my wet ingredients in my bowl. The wet ingredient that I need, I will be needing my water, which is 120 ml. I've said it that I need 120 ml of water. This cup is 125. This cup is 125 ml, but I'll be using 120 ml. That's why I'm not going to fill it. So I'm not going to fill it. So for my oil, I'll be using 1 tablespoon. My spoon. 1 tablespoon. 1.5 tablespoons. 1.5 tablespoon of groundnut or vegetable oil. I'm adding it inside my water. This is a tablespoon. This is a half of the tablespoon. I'm adding it inside the water. Then, like we have said, my vanilla flavor will be I'm using 1 tablespoon for my vanilla flavor. So, you know, I I said I will be using coffee. I'm going to melt that coffee inside a small hot water. I'm going to melt it inside a small hot water. This is my hot water. I will be putting it inside this cup. Then I need 1 teaspoon of coffee. 1 teaspoon of coffee. 1 teaspoon of coffee. So I'm going to dissolve it inside this hot water. I have to dissolve it with hot water. And you will be wondering that why am I not using hot water for this? You know, I use ordinary water for this my recipe. You'll be wondering that why am I not using hot water for this my recipe? The reason why is that I am using butter. Assuming I am using my only my groundnut, only my vegetable oil, fine, I can use hot water for it. But I'm using water, and if I use hot water for this my recipe, you know that the hot water will melt. The reason why I'm not using hot water, because you'll be surprised that I am using just my normal water. The reason I'm not using normal water is because we are using creaming method, and the hot water will melt the butter. So that's why I'm not using hot water. So now this water that I added, the hot water that I added inside this coffee is cold. So I'm adding it to my water, vegetable oil, and my vanilla flavor. So now I am setting this aside to mix my butter. So my already mixed sugar, butter, and my eggs. So now don't forget that we have our wet ingredients here. Then I'll be doing it alternatively. I am starting with flour, and I'm going to end with flour. That is the rules. I'm starting with flour. So now I'm mixing. Yeah, we are folding. No, we are not going to do what? We are not going to mix it as if a mixer is mixing. So we are going to what? We are folding it in. Wet ingredients. I've added my wet ingredients. Then I will mix. After that, my dry ingredients. And I'll fold in. Let's add my wet ingredients. You can see the way I'm adding it bit by bit. My dry ingredients. And see the way I'm adding, the way it's becoming more darker. Sorry. Don't worry about this. Is the water. This is the last water that is going inside it. The last water that is going inside there before I will add my flour. That's my dry ingredients. So I'm adding this is my dry ingredients. So that's also my dry ingredient that I'm adding, because I said the dry ingredients will go in first. You are going to start with the dry ingredients and end with your dry ingredients. So I'm ending with my dry ingredients. Don't forget that you are not mixing, you are folding it inside and folding it inside. This is the last flour. And viewers at home, if you have watched to this extent, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more videos to come. And if you want me to do and if you want me to give any recipe, feel free to tell me inside the comment section. I am going to give it out. I am going to be ready to give the recipe out for you. So now, this is my cake batter plates. My 5 plates to portion my cake batter, my chocolate cake batter. Oh, so now this is the smallest one and this is the medium one. So I love measuring my batter, especially when I am, so that it can give me equal. So now I'm using I want to use 120. It's more than 120. So I'm using 120. Okay. Let me make it 130. Okay, so I'm using 130. So now this is the medium foil. I am going to double it. So give me, this one will give me 2. Instead of 260, I'm going to make it 250. I think, sorry, this 200 is okay for me. The 200. So this is the outcome of my chocolate cake. You can see how it is. Thanks for watching, guys.